In 2016, Eddie Griffin said, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa. Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys. George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez, still here. And it doesn't look like the migrant traffic is going back. Gosh, it almost seems like the world is full of suffering, intolerance, and oppression on a scale we can't imagine. But that can't be true, because if it was, we'd be protesting it. It must only happen in Israel. And if, for your exile, you do wind up in some comparatively luxurious place like Canada or Japan or the UK, not that they want you, at best, you'll be trading a bunch of stuff you hate about this country for a bunch of stuff you'll soon hate about your new home.
Every election cycle, Hollywood delivers the same performance, and at this point, the script is practically memorized. Some famous face steps in front of a camera, fills the room with moral outrage, and solemnly declares that if the wrong candidate wins, they are done with America, finished, gone. Canada, Italy, New Zealand, wherever the weather is mild and the political commentary is someone else's burden. And yet, cycle after cycle, those same celebrities are right back on the red carpet, collecting their paychecks and posting inspirational captions from their Los Angeles estates. Bill Maher has finally said what everyone's been thinking, and he didn't pull a single punch. The hypocrisy gets even thicker when it crosses into politics. Running for office in a country you've publicly described as an unlivable disaster is a special kind of contradiction. If you're asking people to trust you to lead them, the bare minimum would be sounding like you believe the place is worth saving. But somewhere along the way, America is broken, stopped being a critique, and became a campaign slogan performed with passion, rewarded with applause, and completely divorced from any real plan. That's not courage. That's just very expensive theater.
If you run for office in America, you have to want to live here. I bring this up because there was a video that made the rounds recently by a woman who said she was a proud progressive and was running for state representative in New Hampshire, and yet posted this.
Is there a place we can move that people would be happy to have us, that we're not gentrifying or colonizing? I don't want to be a problem, but I need to get the out of this country.
The out of this country? The one you want to be elected to a leadership position in? What was your campaign slogan? America, a shining shithole on a hill?
Maher's critique goes well beyond mocking dramatic celebrities. He's targeting something bigger, a deeply entitled, aggressively online mindset that has convinced itself that political disappointment is the same thing as persecution, where losing an election triggers a full identity crisis, where ordinary frustration gets dressed up as historical suffering, and where the only acceptable response to a bad news cycle is either total outrage or a moving announcement. It's not serious. It's not historically grounded. It's what happens when comfort becomes so permanent that any disruption feels like oppression. To be fair, America's problems are real. Healthcare, housing, education, public trust, these aren't invented complaints. But a country needing improvement and a country being beyond repair are two very different things. And collapsing that distinction serves nobody. Maher's sharpest point lands right there. If this country is as catastrophically broken as some public figures insist, why does it remain one of the most sought-after destinations on Earth? That contradiction tends to go very quiet when someone finally puts it on the table.
Now, does America have big problems? Yes, I've often cited the America sucks list. Things like being 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba, 19th in literacy behind Russia, 72nd in female representation in government behind Iraq. A lot of work to do here. And is it possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Yes, but we're not there yet, not by a long shot, and we don't need quitters. We need people who will stay and fix it. Maybe the problem isn't that America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it.
The messaging itself has become impossible to reconcile. On one side, the argument is that America is systemically damaged, structurally cruel, and perpetually one election away from full collapse. On the other side, those same voices insist the country must remain open, welcoming, and full of promise for millions hoping to build something better here. But that can't work both ways indefinitely. Is this place a nightmare or an opportunity? Picking whichever framing is most dramatic in the moment isn't a political position, it's a talking point strategy. And audiences are starting to notice the inconsistency.
59% of self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave?
That inconsistency is exactly why the I'm leaving routine has officially become a punchline. This isn't about shutting down criticism. Criticism is healthy, necessary, and very much part of what citizenship looks like. The problem is when every critique escalates into a farewell address, it stops reading as conviction and starts reading as emotional theater. The pattern is so predictable it practically runs itself. Election results drop. The hashtags erupt. A celebrity releases a quote. The media amplifies it for 3 days, and then nothing. They stay. Every single time. Because somewhere underneath all the dramatic declarations, they already know the truth they're not quite ready to say out loud. There really is nowhere else quite like this place.
There's a long list of liberal celebrities who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Miley Cyrus once said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday.
That's not a claim of perfection. It's just an honest accounting. When you put everything on the scale, freedom of movement, economic scale, cultural reach, opportunity, ambition, and the sheer range of what's possible, America becomes remarkably difficult to genuinely replace. Most people who romanticize leaving are deeply in love with the fantasy version of somewhere else, and that fantasy is seductive. The perfect city abroad, the calmer politics, the charming cafe culture, the cleaner trains, the sense that somewhere out there, adults are simply handling things better. It's the vacation brain applied to geopolitics. You spend 4 days in a beautiful neighborhood, eat at the restaurants someone recommended online, and leave convinced you've discovered a superior civilization. What you haven't experienced yet is the taxes, the bureaucracy, the housing costs, the job market, the healthcare wait times, the social isolation, or the 1,000 invisible frustrations that come with actually, permanently living there. The fantasy is always more comfortable than the reality, and that's exactly why the suitcases never get packed.